So we very much see ourselves as part of the farm team. We've already heard this morning with regards to setting up these farm meetings where essentially you've got everyone round the table. There's nothing worse for me as a vet coming on farm, and the typical thing I come up against with is the farmer says, well, the nutritionist said that you shouldn't do it like this. And the farm consultant said, well, the vet's wrong and the nutritionist's wrong. What I'm saying is right, because that's the only way you're going to make money. The best way for us to move forward as a team is to get together as a team. That rules all of those nitpicking, takes it all away, and there's no doubt that way the farm can move forward and we can all benefit from it. There's lots that we already know about beef and lamb productivity. It depends on replacement management, bull ram soundness and fertility, management of body condition and fertility, avoidance of dystocia, and maintenance of health. We all know these things, and as vets we know that we can have a real impact on the productivity of your system, the kilos of flesh leaving your farm each year, be that through growth rates, be that through fertility, or be that through carcass quality. But here's the thing that we all should know. Essentially, whenever we have farm walks, we have these guys walking around the farm and having a look around, looking for the magic bullet, looking for that silver bullet that's going to sort their problem, that one thing that's going to make a difference. And sometimes you will find that there are lots of new things out there, or a few things that you can take home. But the reality is that in most instances that's not the case. The principles of the breeder who improves are extremely simple. The difficulty isn't so much strange and wonderful principles, but it's actually starting to apply them. And so some of what you've heard this morning, keep it simple, stupid, is a real classic. Do we always do the things, the very basic things that we should do? Like I said, I was at a farm walk on a new dairy just this week. And we had a farm walk, we had different stations, we were looking at a new vaccination for mastitis, and then we had some milk quality section on the parlour, and then we had another lot talking about dry off. And all these farmers are walking around the farm. You know what it's like, everyone's nosing in here, there, you have to employ someone as a backing gate just to keep people moving. The reality is all these guys often are just looking around everywhere else. What are they doing? What are they doing? What are they doing? How are they going to do it? And the grass is always greener. The grass is always greener. The reality is, often though, I don't think we take a good hard look at our own systems. And if you take your eye off the ball, there's certainly the chance that you yourself are going to get shafted. So, if I could ask everyone to, if you're in beef and or sheep enterprises at home, could you please stand? Excellent. Okay. Could those in beef enterprises please sit down? Excellent. So you guys are the sheep farmers. I'm a vet. You may not have seen one in a while. Okay. My next question is, if you have a veterinary herd health plan, please remain standing. Ooh. Okay. Excellent. If you've referred to that health plan in the last 12 months to make a difference to what you're doing on your farm, please sit down. Doesn't look very good for my industry, does it? Thank you, you can sit down now. Okay, so this was work done back in 2007, some DEFRA study that was done looking at farm health plans. And by what we mean by farm health plans is that tangible piece of paper that everyone refers to as part of their farm assurance. If we have a look here, we can see that in the beef sector, around 50% of people had an actual farm health plan. And 50%, around 50%, the same for the sheep industry. Farm health plans themselves, though, are contentious. We as a practice recognise that you guys have to have farm health plans, but do farm health plans actually make a difference? Or is it the active part of health planning, sitting around the table, sorting out where the problems are, where the bottlenecks in the system are, and how we're going to fix those going forwards? If those beef producers could now please stand up. Okay, excellent. If you own a whey cell, please sit down. Okay, interesting. So we still have quite a few beef producers that don't have a whey cell. If you have a farm recording system, please sit down. Okay, thank you. You can sit down. If we look at performance recording, around 50% of beef farms in this study actually performance recorded, and perhaps only 20% actually use benchmarking. Now we can argue later on whether benchmarking is something that should be used or how it's used day to day. If we look at sheep production, we can see that performance recording is around 50% and benchmarking again pretty low at around 20%. This is something that really hit home with us as a livestock veterinarians, was looking at, okay, if you've got a health plan, did you perceive that there was any improvement in your profitability just through going through a health plan? Only about 20% thought there was any improvement in profitability. Perhaps more worrying for us was that only a third thought that there was improvement in herd health. If we look within the sheep industry, we can see that that's a little bit better, around 25% improvement in profitability, and perceived improvement in health around 35%. So there is a huge opportunity there for us as livestock veterinarians to get involved with you. Is it, though, just the fact that we don't have the knowledge or you don't have the knowledge? So what I'd like now is a glamorous assistant. You're nominated. If you wouldn't mind just standing up and writing down some of the answers here on this page of what we're going to come up with. So what I'd like you to do is, especially those beef producers, is shout out some of the advantages of shortening your calving spread. Go for it. Weaning weights. In what way? Smaller groups.
One big group to manage at one particular time.
Okay, one particular group at a particular time. So essentially shortening the age differentiation. Okay. Consistency, great.
Simplicity.
Simplicity is a good one.
Labour.
Sorry?
Reduced labour.
Reduce labour or concentrated labour at certain times, yeah. Potentially less diseases because you've got those animals all in one age group rather than a real spread. How are you getting on, Glamorous Assistant?
More simple to feed. More simple to feed.
Simple to feed.
How about profit? Gross margin.
Gross margin, yeah. Okay, so I've put up quite a few of those. Not all of them, but quite a few. So here's the challenge. It's not necessarily that we don't have the knowledge in the room, okay? It may be just about applying it. Thank you. If we look in Ireland, home sweet home for a number of us, the average calving interval in the sucklers is around 407 days, and we've got around 79 calves produced for every 100 beef cows. 42 kilos lighter at weaning, assuming kilo a day for live weight, 42 days younger, 42 kilos. And that's estimated to be around 84 euros per head, assuming 2 euros per kilogram live weight. Here's some figures that are bashed around. And this is lowland sucklers and those of less favourable areas. Here's my challenge to you. We put out, as a veterinary industry, these targets. 95 calves per 100 cows per year. Target calving interval of 9 weeks. 65% of cows calving within the first 21 days. If you're any of these guys, is it going to be a realistic target for you to achieve? Benchmarking is important. Knowing where you're at is important. but setting practical targets for your own farm that you're able to achieve and what you're happy with is most important. My challenge to you is, how often do you benchmark yourself against yourself? How often do you actually sit down and set yourself targets and goals? There are lots of other opportunities, and some of those have been discussed already. Heifer synchronization and artificial insemination, something that's used within the pedigree groups, but how many people actually take advantage of that? Essentially, you're dealing with your most genetic elite animals on your farm. Are you going to put a bull or inseminate them with something that's of less genetic potential? Is that something you look at? How often do you look at it? As a commercial breeder, is it something you look at? And genomics is certainly going to bring that much more to the fore. Here's a question now. All those that are in breeding, who are breeding sheep or beef, please stand up again. Okay, please sit down if for every bull or ram you use that you actually get them fertility tested. Okay. If you get them fertility tested, sit down. Every year. Every year. Okay. So you guys are happy with risk. It always astounds me that people will spend significant money on bulls, but not necessarily know whether they're actually firing on all cylinders or not. You can sit down now. Whenever we've looked at studies for bulls and their fertility, we've found that 70% of bulls do pass. 30% of bulls, in our experience, don't pass. And of that 30%, half of those are due to semen defects that we couldn't pick up just on physical exam alone. It always astounds me how much producers will pay for a bull that they don't know whether he fires or not, and potentially what even his genetic potential is, what his calving ease is, all of those things. Things to consider. Things to consider.